Well, folks, I really hate to say this, but I truly do believe it's going to get a whole lot worse before it even begins to get better. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I'm not saying that to try to get people scared or worked up. I'm saying that because I'm looking and listening to the other side and what they have to say. I'm listening to Trump and Vance. I'm listening to his border czar, Tom Homan, and I'm listening to them talk about how that once they get the funding from the great big beautiful bill, if you think they've been deporting people now, just wait till they have the proper funding and they're going to go balls to the wall even further with it. And they're not just talking about violent criminals or violent gang members. That's not what they're talking about. In their mind, the person that is waiting your table or picking your fruit is every bit as a criminal as anyone else, because in their minds, they're all here illegally. And once they get the proper funding, they're just going to go in there. And if you think they've been deporting people now, they're going to do even more once they get the proper funds. And here is the border czar himself saying this, and then we're going to talk more about it.
Me up lately. Well, Homan's lying. They're not arresting just criminals and public safety threats. They're arresting non-criminals. What they're afraid to tell you is, yeah, they're in the country illegally, so they're on the table too. So I was with the president yesterday during the big, beautiful bill ceremony at the White House, and he made a mistake and let me to the microphone. We need that big, beautiful bill passed. Come listen to me. I'm telling you right now, they passed that bill. We're going to have more money than we ever had to do immigration enforcement. You think we're arresting people now? You wait till we get the funding to do what we got to do. And so when we get that funding, we can put more agents on the field, right? Because we need the money. It's going to help us hire more contract help. So there shouldn't be a badge and a gun sitting at a desk doing keystrokes with some administrative duty. That should be a contractor. The badge and gun needs to be on the street looking for those national security threats and public safety threats. So that's going to give us more boots on the ground. It's going to give us more beds. This morning I looked at the beds. We got about 1,400 empty beds. 1,400. We'll fill them by tomorrow. So we're playing this chess game. We got to move people out and put people in. No, we need 100,000 beds so I can fill 100,000 beds, and we're going to move them as fast as we can, but we need more beds so we don't have to, in the morning we say, okay, well, we only got this many beds, so let's only arrest this many people. No, we should be coming to work every day saying, get everybody you can get, and we got the bed waiting. That's where we need to get to.
So how many times over the years have you found yourself in an argument with someone from Maga and they said to you, we're not against people coming here. We're not against people wanting to make a better way for themselves. As long as they're coming here legally, we don't mind. Well, now they're lumping everyone into the same box. They're putting everyone in the same box and they're going for it. And they're saying it all out loud. So their argument that they were for people coming here, I always knew that that was bullshit, and we know now it's even more so bullshit because there's Tom Homan saying that. And listen to the joy that he's got in his voice saying it. He's proud of himself for saying it, and there are people sitting there clapping along to that horse shit. And it just really makes me stop and pause and go back to when I was a kid growing up in the 1980s. A Republican president named Ronald Reagan was telling another president to tear down the wall. Talking about people coming to this country to make a better way for themselves, talking about the American dream. And folks, I want to ask you this. You know, Maga loves to talk about, and Donald Trump, he coined the phrase, make America great again. Actually, he didn't coin the phrase, he stole it and reused it, but you know what I'm saying. He puts this phrase out into the world, make America great again. In other words, we have to take America back to another place, is what they're essentially saying. And I've always accused them, and rightfully so, of wanting to take it back to a time when only white men had any power and no one else, women, black people, anyone else had a right to vote or do anything else. I've always said that's what they want to take it back to. And I think this is pretty much my case in point for why I say that. They're no longer talking about the American dream. When is the last time that you heard a Republican talk about the American dream, talk about people coming here, talking about how that people coming here is what makes us stronger, that people desires to come here? When have you heard any of that? All it's been is we have to build walls and we have to get people out and they're all criminals and they're all gang members and we're a laughingstock on the world stage and everyone's laughing at us and this place is a shithole. Donald Trump does nothing but run this country down every time he opens his mouth and then says we're going to make it great again, but he never actually does anything to make it great. He never takes the next step to make it great because in his mind, making it great is getting rid of all the brown people. And let's just cut through the bullshit and get right down to what it is. That's what they want to do. It's not about whether someone is here waiting the tables or picking the fruit or in a gang. It's not about that. They're all in one box to them now, and they intend to fill as many beds. And the one thing they never talk about, by the way, you never hear them talk about the children. You never hear them say a word about what happens to them. They stopped that conversation a long time ago because they've just done a job here of painting everyone as a violent criminal, lumping them all into the same place, painting them all as with the worst brush possible so that then they can go out there and they'll show you a video of someone waving a Mexican flag and standing on a burning car, and they'll say that's the type of people that Democrats are backing. And how dare they fly another country's flag during their protest? And these are the same people that on January 6th marched to the Capitol. And if you watch the footage of that, go back. And I'm not altering the footage. I'm not tweaking it. I'm not telling you to look over here. I'm telling you to look right at the chaos on that day and look at the flags that was in the air. And I guarantee you the American flag will be the one you will see the least. Because what you saw that day was Trump flags. What you saw that day was Confederate flags walking through the halls of the Capitol. What you saw was, all those different flags with all those different names. Don't tread on me. The American flag was the least popular flag on that day. So I don't ever want to be lectured by any of those people about, oh, you people stands for somebody waving another country's flag. It's absolutely ridiculous when they stood behind people and still stand behind people to this day that waved a flag of a treasonous country that went to war against the Union. They want to sit and say, Mexico, by the way, is an ally. I don't know if they realize that or not, but Mexico is an ally. I know they don't want them to be. I know they want to paint them as the enemy, but they are. But the Confederacy is not an ally. They were an enemy and said so out loud. And when you look back at all of it, that's the people they're still defending to this day, going back and renaming army bases after Confederate generals, going back and putting all that stuff in place. And do you really think that someone like Donald Trump, born in New York, Yankee, do you honestly think he cares about anyone down south? No, he just uses and manipulates those people. And he goes down there and he preys upon people's emotions. He preys upon their emotions, and if he can get people scared and hating brown people, which has been the Republican shtick all along, if they can do that, then they can sit here and do all the dirty work they want to do. And they're waiting on that big bill so they can have the funding to go even further. And they're proud of it, and they're bragging about it. And they stopped talking about the American dream a long time ago. And I really don't hear a whole lot of people talking about it except those of us in the pro-democracy movement. We talk about it. We talk about what truly makes this country great. We believe that diversity is strength. We believe that DEI should have never been made a bad word. I don't think woke should have ever been made a bad word. And I really hold a lot of resentment to people on the left who helped make it a bad word, and the ones that turned on it and jumped on this train of let's all bash something and call it woke. Yeah, I'm talking about Bill Maher. I don't care to name names. I'm tired of those type of people who painted themselves as progressives and painted themselves as leftists and then sat over here and was just apologist for one of the most despicable ideas that was ever put on mankind, and that's Maga. I'm so sick of people sitting back and acting like they're normal, acting like they're sane, acting like that it's okay, and acting like that guy standing up there that we should be sitting there applauding that. Anyone sitting there applauding that should be absolutely ashamed of themselves, and anyone sitting there applauding that does not believe in the American dream. And we know that because they stopped talking about it a hell of a long time ago. Because if they encouraged people to come here, if they celebrated diversity, if they reached across the aisle and shook hands with people they disagreed with, then they wouldn't have a platform. Their entire platform is built on hatred, racism, homophobia, transphobia, fear, propaganda. That's what it's built on. You take that away, what have they got? That's why Donald Trump is never actually going to fix anything. You'll never see him actually fix it. There will always be a villain, the Democrats, the radical left lunatics. You won't ever see him ever try to mend a fence, ever try to patch anything up, ever try to unite the country. He won't do it, because if he united the country, his message falls flat. Because if he united the country, then what the hell else has he done for anyone? How's he made your life better? Did he bring down the grocery bill? Are eggs cheaper? Are you living better? Or are you still out there struggling, living paycheck to paycheck just like you was before he got back in? And he duped you into thinking that your life would be easier. It was never going to be. And we all knew it, and we pointed to the red flags. We pointed to Project 2025. We said, these things are going to happen. And we got met with this resounding chorus of people going, oh, I don't think he'd actually do that. Well, he's saying he's going to do that. Well, I don't think they'd actually let him do that. They gave him immunity to do that. Wake up, pay attention, look around. and get back to believing in the American dream. Get back to believing in what really made this country strong, and stop trying to shout it down at every turn, and stop trying to paint everybody as a criminal and everybody as a villain, because they're not. I have worked alongside of immigrants who could work circles around every white dude in the building. And the reason why the white dudes didn't want anyone coming over to help us is because they didn't want to pick up the pace. So if we could, for once, get back to what we were originally about, which was the American dream and this country being great and people aspiring to come here, who would aspire to come to Donald Trump's America unless they were a white supremacist? Who would want to come unless they were in some radical group in Germany? Like, what? Who would want to show up here? Who would want to celebrate Donald Trump and his vision for America except racist, hateful assholes? I mean, I can't think of anyone why they would want to come here. And that's a true shame, because we used to be that light that everyone was looking at. We used to be that example that we were setting for the rest of the world. And now we're everything that we were ever taught to be against, because Donald Trump turned us into it.